Welcome to Across the Ring. My name is William Mayhem Michaels.
And this is the scientist, Carl Schrupfer. And today we got Mario MarMan. Welcome to our show.
Hey, appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's dive right in. How did you first get into wrestling?
I've always loved wrestling. Wrestling has always been just good TV. It's just like was one of those things that maybe even if you're not a fan, but you like good TV, you're channel surfing because we used to channel surf, right? And you see it, you're like, oh, cool, what's this, right? It's one of those what's this kind of things, you know. You stop and take a look. You're like, what are these guys doing, you know? But when I got to high school at 14, I met a bunch of guys who just absolutely loved wrestling and bought the pay-per-views every month. And once I was like, whoa, there's friends who get together and buy pay-per-views every month. I was like, this is awesome, you know? I love the sports guys and I love the nerds, but man, the wrestling friends, man, it was just so great. We just loved to get the pay-per-views and guess who was going to win and really just have a good time. And that was probably all throughout high school and probably even after high school too. We would get together and buy the pay-per-views, and it was, I don't know, it was just so much fun, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we're two fans right here, so absolutely big fans of just checking that kind of stuff out, talking with friends, enjoying it with a group of people.
Yeah.
So how did you go from, being a fan of wrestling to then becoming a wrestler yourself?
Well, I do like to like in that group of friends, I do like to be the one telling the jokes. You know, I do like I like to stir the pot, I like to chew the fat, you know, I like to just like let's get a conversation going and start laughing, right? And
right,
you know, maybe burning each other a little bit or something like that. So with wrestling, it's like what would you do that you would do in front of people? What would you do that would be entertaining? What would you do where you would be comfortable being the center of attention, you know? And the answer for me was always, I mean, it's pro wrestling, right? Because I would love to do plays. I would love to do stand-up comedy. You know, I would love to learn magic. I would love to be in a movie. It's like, well, you could like take elements of all of that and then you have professional wrestling, right? Like,
right, absolutely.
yeah, it's like all those things like rolled into one. Like, where like magic. It's like how do you do that? Wrestling, it's like, man, how do they make it look so real? With comedy, I always try to make the crowd laugh at least once. Not with necessarily with a wink, but I mean, as a bad guy, it's easy to slip on a banana peel when you have a great hero to work against, right?
Right.
And then like a play, you're telling a story, and like a movie, it's like that action scene that you've been waiting for. But what's really cool about professional wrestling is it's mostly action scenes, right? But they're compelling and they're good, and I had to do it. I had to go from watching the pay-per-view to to getting into the ring. And everybody in my family knew that I loved it. And for my 20th birthday, they gave me startup money for school at Brew City Wrestling. Frank DeFalco and Dinty Moore, aka the Beer City Bruiser, trained me to wrestle. And probably a year and a half later, I was wrestling for ICW and BCW.
So
it was fun.
In the beginning of all of that, you said your family knew that you was a big fan. Who would you say was your biggest supporter out of your family?
When I first started, there was this, like, at least my first year of wrestling, not training, but wrestling. There was a big group of my family that would all come to shows. I mean, I would sell 30 tickets for ICW. Was kind of like the lane my family liked to stay in because they were so, at the time, they weren't so death matchy. They were very more like cheeky, kind of in your face. maybe they would let drop an F-bomb in the main event or something. And my family really responded to that, and the shows never dragged on either. But I mean, I'm talking, I would have, 15 to 30 people at a show, at least in my first year. They're not, crazy wrestling fans, but they were there to give me a nice send off. And like I said, when I say people in my family put a down payment on wrestling school, I mean, like 20, 25 people contributed money into a birthday card and said, we've enrolled you in this school. Here's the money to start doing it. So you're talking about like support, like at least in the beginning, it would be hard to give it to one person because everyone was rallied around me. And I don't know if I ever would have done it if they hadn't given me that little push. And it was the best push I ever got.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a hell of a support system, honestly. Like 20, 30 people in the beginning of every show. That's crazy.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, as you're kind of developing, you go through wrestling school, you start wrestling, early on, who did you kind of pull from as influences as you're kind of like building yourself up as a, wrestling character?
Well, let me tell you who my favorite wrestlers are or were, at least. Okay. Because my favorite wrestlers when I was 20 or 21, Kurt Angle, Eddie Guerrero, Triple H, The Rock, like those are my favorite wrestlers. As I got into wrestling, I realized that the wrestlers I needed to emulate were the wrestlers who I was more like, I guess. So then that's when you start to see more of maybe a little bit of Arn Anderson, a little bit of Scott Hall, and I would say a lot of Rick Rude. Yeah, maybe a sprinkle of Val Venus as well. So those are the kind of guys that Goldust too. Goldust, because if you ask me like who the MarMan is, he's a guy who I want to beat you up, but it's much more important to me that I embarrass you and that I take a little bit of your dignity away, because that would make me better than you. It's not just about beating you, it's about being better than you for the MarMan. And something that Goldust would do so well is he would make his opponent feel so like insecure, right? And like once you're insecure, your masculinity is gone. And even though Goldust would have whatever he was wearing on, he was more manly than that dude for a second, even though he was being weird. And that I kind of gravitate towards that, if I can get you uncomfortable, well, then I'll make you make a mistake, right?
Right. That makes a lot of sense. So, kind of talking about, those influences, one of the things that's pretty obvious to any fan that's been to your shows, your entrance music is something that is provocative. How did that come about?
Well, I gotta be honest, I guess. One day I got a message from Dysfunction, and it said, "Hey dude, I just had a weird idea. Maybe you want to use this as your entrance music." And I was like, I'm familiar with this song, but are you out of your mind? Like, I was coming out to Lonely as the Night by Billy Squire, and that always put me in a bad guy mood, right? It was about like I'm alone, but I'm not going to be lazy, right? Like I'm alone, but I'm on the move. Don't worry about my solidarity because I'm using it for anger. But then he's like, no, take my breath away, dude. And I thought about it for a couple of weeks, and I listened to it many times for a couple of weeks. And then I took a shower and listened to it. And I realized that, or I thought, I guess, when I make my next entrance and I hear the music, I'm just going to pretend I'm taking a shower. So like when I would wait till the take my breath away, that would drop, then I would come out the curtain, and then I would just pretend like there was water falling on me, and I was like washing my hair in my body, and then I would just kind of like do the dance. And I mean, it was very slow, and I guess I was like, I had like the Undertaker entrance, you know, when I first started using the music. But yeah, it was dysfunction. He said, I think this would maybe help your character go the way it's going. And it went from kind of like this angry, kind of pissed off guy to this mad, but now more focused on a mission. Like that's when like now I can be like, okay, I'm gonna weird these dudes out. I'm gonna creep these guys out. And I'm really into myself. And I believe that when the crowd sees me, I take their breath away a little bit, right? So then it feeds that confidence too, you know. Credit goes to Dysfunction for that. He's probably given a lot of guys their entrance musics. Actually, I would say if Dysfunction gives you an idea, if it sounds like really like off the wall to you, even if it sounds like stupid to you, like no, that's not me, I would suggest this: just try it. He obviously knows what he's doing. Just try it.
Yeah.
That's a
So speaking of Dysfunction, and we've talked about ICW quite a bit. You've been pretty active there and have had, various championships, both singles and in tag. So when it comes to, your time wrestling, do you prefer wrestling as a singles competitor or do you prefer doing tag matches?
very good question, because I would say singles, but like here's where tag is. This is singles, this is tag. Okay, like I love to, like I said, be the center of attention kind of, right? But I also like to have a job, a task, and I'm very good at doing it by myself, okay? So if my job is to make a babyface look like a powerful hero, I can get that done. Having said that, though, when we talk about tags, I feel like I engage the crowd at a higher level than most. And I feel like I really turn the heat up, like really hot. But when I'm in the ring next to Jared Jacks, I feel like he has that same power, and we don't go 50-50. We go 100 and 100. That's why I love being the Marman, but being Marjax or Milwaukee Vice or No Ma'am or Mario and Jared, whatever the heck you want, the P10s, whatever you want to call us, we're just like double the heat, So I love singles, awesome. I love tagging, and man, it's close. It's very close. I don't know. Maybe they're neck and neck. As I get older, maybe tag. Also, Jared is so good. Jared's such a good wrestler that when I'm not wrestling in a tag match, I'm on the corner just going just like if I had a pen and paper, I would be taking notes. Just like, God, this guy just is so good at what he does. I love both, but right now tagging is it's coming for singles.
So we know that you've held a lot of gold in your career. What would you say is your favorite championship that you've held?
Well, maybe the answer is the last question. My favorite championship is the ICW World Championship. It's like one day I had been wrestling. Remember, this is the first place I ever wrestled. Okay. And I had been wrestling for at least 7 or 8 years, and I had not won the big title anywhere. Okay. And you can say it means something or it doesn't mean something. When you have established yourself somewhere, you hope that the fans want to see you with the title on, and you really hope the guy who books the show wants to see you with the title on. One day, Dis messages me and says, "Hey, bro, I'm competing against a lot of stuff in town. Maybe the show is gonna be kind of light. You want to stay home?" And I was like, "I'm on my way." I wasn't texting and driving. I was at a red light. And he was, I swear, he was like, all right, we'll just come and we'll see what happens, right? And there actually the crowd was there. There people showed up because it's ICW. And so he made a gauntlet, and there was a gauntlet, and I was able to somehow, some way pin the 400-pound high flying moonsaulting monster Xavier Mustafa and win the championship. And I tell you what, it was the world championship, and it meant the world to me. It was awesome. I haven't really done a whole lot of high level things in wrestling. So everything I do, I want to be high quality. And ICW has allowed me to have some high quality matches. It means a lot to me to be, I think, a 3-time ICW world title holder.
Ah, that's awesome. To shift gears a bit. So, wrestling's clearly a very big piece of your life. When you're not wrestling, when you're not watching wrestling, what are you doing with yourself?
Well, not to be like a bro or a meathead, but I really do like to work out. I like to lift weights, and I like to lift weights with people. I like to have people come over because I have a garage gym that we call the Pump House, and dudes come over and pump. I am very lucky, incredibly lucky to have 2 children, 2 daughters, and we try to do stuff. We try to have fun. When they're with me, we try to go to the zoo or the children's museum. To be honest, at least the 8-year-old is not super into wrestling. So, and that's okay. That's okay. All right. Maybe if I was a goblin from Roblox or a ghoul from Minecraft or something, maybe she would be more into it, but I'm not. And as far as television goes, if I'm not watching wrestling, I'm probably watching Star Wars because I'm a huge nerd, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Will, I feel like you kind of connect with this a lot.
Yeah, I think the reason I connect with that is because I'm outnumbered with girls too.
Nice.
I got 2 girls, one 12, one 7. She turns 8 this year. And like you, I'm a Star Wars nerd as well. So I definitely relate on that level. I haven't checked out the new episodes of Mandalorian since it came out recently, but outside of that,
you didn't see him die in the first episode? Dude, I couldn't believe Grogu just took the Darksaber and just cut that off. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Oh, but you haven't seen it yet. I'll let you see it.
Yeah. I did watch the first season. I just haven't watched the new season. But I am getting excited. I don't know if you know much about Doom, but Doom is what inspired Lucas to make Star Wars, and the second Doom's coming out soon, so I'm excited for that too.
Yeah, I watched. I gotta be honest with you. I the original Dune I probably saw when I was like a kid, but I did watch the new Dune, right, with Oscar Isaac and who else is in it? Batista, right?
Yeah, Batista.
Yeah, and the Aquaman too, right? Isn't he in that?
Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Put him in a bowl and give me a spoon. Yum.
Yeah, that's my main crush. Don't start.
Yeah, dude, is that okay? Yeah.
Shit.
Anyways, yeah, it's a great movie though, and there's chicks in it as well.
I mean, so I've been told.
Right.
So, all right. So getting back, talk about wrestling, talk about your career. You've been doing this for a long time. As you kind of keep going forward, what are some goals or, things that you're working towards as you are continuing your career?
one continuous goal is to look at pictures of myself every day. Dog is saying hi. Is to look at a promo picture of myself every single day and say, how can I change that? How can that evolve? What's the next evolution? Because if he stays like that, he starts growing dust. You know, if I'm not, I don't know if my goal is making it. I'm 37 years old and I have, you know, two beautiful girls. I don't know if my goal is television. My goal is to do things I haven't done yet. There are shows that I won't tell you. I won't get into specifics, but there are shows that I look at and say, God, I gotta be on that show. I gotta do that show before I'm done. I gotta be at that level before I can say that I was good or something. That I need to be. And some we're artists, so we are looking for some validation, right? I mean, when you're in, I mean, you're literally. I have literally said to the crowd, cheer for me. Now they boo when I say that, but I have literally asked people to give me adulation, you know, like, please give this to me. I need to know I'm a good wrestler. So my goals are these higher level shows that I look at and say, like I wouldn't be the best wrestler in that locker room. You know, I would have to be extremely humble. So I'm not saying I'm the best wrestler in Milwaukee because I'm not. And as long as dysfunction's around, no one else can say that anyway. I'm just saying I'm good and I'm very good and I'm very good at controlling the crowds that are in front of me. And I would like to see some new crowds. I'd like to see some bigger crowds. I'd like to see some crowds that I don't know. Maybe they're like, well, we like a different kind of wrestling that you've never delivered before. So can you deliver this different type of wrestling? We'll see. Right.
So speaking to that, so talking about different kinds of crowds and different kinds of wrestling, you want to talk about Mondo Lucha?
Sure. We can talk about Mondo Lucha. I have wrestled for Mondo Lucha. Mondo Lucha is very special because of Jay and Andy and everybody who works there. I mean, they have a crew, you know, but Jay and Andy, I don't know how to describe what they do for you as a wrestler. It's like they give you this beautiful canvas, or like it's blank, but it's just you've got all the best colors and you're in this clean station and they're like, put your heart on that canvas and, you know, see what it looks like when you're done. It's just so easy. And a lot of times you're in front of crowds that just they want to remember wrestling. Like, this is where I need to turn the Rick Rude up. Okay, if the MarMan is on a Mondo show, especially like let's say at Weird Fest, right, in front of Mob Craft Brewery, I'm going to turn up the hip swivels, you know, to 100, and we are going to keep this real simple and show our characters off because Mondo Lucha, it's really about that character, you know, like they have taken a lot of us and said, hey, try this, or hey, put this mask on and see who you become, or you two who never tagged together, you're going to tag together and you're going to be these guys now, and you're going to be managed by this guy, and your new gimmick that you are attached to is this, and we're going to see what happens. And when you're in front of a Mondo Lucha crowd, especially Turner Hall, especially all those people, and they're going nuts for everything, like you're gonna pour your heart into it. Again, like I said, if dysfunction gives you an idea and you say no, you're dumb. If Mondo Lucha says, hey, you know, we've got an idea for a different version of your character or a different character altogether, or put this mask on, there are some dorks who would be like, well, my character is very important to me, so no, thank you. But I would say, freaking do it, because Mondo Lucha is so special. It's about for wrestlers, it's about character. It's about really bringing it out. Cool moves, awesome moves. I mean, they book Matt Cross every year, and everybody who is underneath him because he's the best. Or I'm sorry, there's also John Morrison there too, who's like perfect. Talk about magic.
Yeah.
He's a magician. He's a freaking magician. And then when they blend it with like the boudoir and the cool music and stuff, you're just like, it's not so much. It's a show. It's it's not. Yeah, it's a party. Thank you. Yeah, it's a party, dude. It's like we're all friends, even though there's hundreds of us in here. We're all kicking it. We all love cool shit, weird shit, off the wall shit, different stuff. Sorry, we're not in a. We love Marvel, but we're not in a 2.5 hour Marvel movie right now, dude. We're getting nuts watching people do nut stuff in the ring. Mondo Lucha is really, really cool. And again, I am super duper lucky because that was a goal at one point. And once the door just cracks open a little bit, you need to, slip yourself through that mother.
It definitely sounds like a really cool place to check out different levels of your character, right? To expand it. Because as you said, a wrestler's job is to always evolve. If you stay the same stale product, you're not going to go anywhere. And so with Mondo Lucha giving you kind of like those different outlook, I mean, it could only help. I mean, I guess it could hurt, but it sounds like a great opportunity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it does. It does help. You're totally right. But it's also it's like getting like a gimmick of oxygen almost, right? You're like, yeah, I'm looking at it differently now. Like you said, you're like, it's a different outlook. You're kind of like, I'm watching the MarMan, right? Because like Jay will say, hey, here's how I see the MarMan, or here's how I view the MarMan. What do you think about that? And you're like, I never thought about that. That makes me a little uncomfortable, but let's go for it because that's where you grow, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's like yeah, you kind of have to like almost get out your comfort zone, right? You can't stay in a little.
Yeah, it sounds to me like you're like a student of the game kind of guy, where you're someone that studies yourself, studies others, and like are always looking for little details to kind of change who you are, or give you that next level.
I was just talking about this yesterday. It's like they're isms. Like people will go, hey, where'd you learn that? And I'm like, that one, that's Armani. Like, oh, like, dude, where'd you learn that one? Honestly, that's a sadist thing that he has driven that home. So I've always just done it that way because I hear his voice in my head. And it's like, what? Why do you do it like that? It's like, well, Jared does this one thing. So I kind of figured I probably should do this one thing myself, like it is like first of all, be very humble. Always be humble. In anything that you do, somebody probably does it better. You've probably been in a gym and you see the corny posters. Someone else is working harder. Dude, someone else is working harder, right? I don't know everything about professional wrestling. It is one of those things that like the longer I do it, the more I feel kind of dumb. Like I'm like, whoa. Like I was doing that move because I saw it on TV for so many years, but now I realize they were doing it for a reason. Like there was something else behind it, and I didn't unlock that little truth or whatever. I didn't crack that egg, for however many years it took me to crack it.
Right. Yeah, that sound like they have this whole thing where when it comes to any sort of topic and it comes to expertise, you start at nothing and you know nothing and you know nothing, and you learn a little bit and you end up on the top of Mount Stupid where you think you know everything but you know very little. And then once you realize how little you know, you get to have this really fun slow progression of learning along the way while knowing that you have so much to learn. And it's kind of this like really great spot where you get to mindfully develop yourself in a way that that you're constantly learning things that will improve yourself.
Hell yeah, yes. It's just the old thing, know yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I really appreciate, everything we've talked about today. We've talked about your career from the beginnings to now, your outlook on life. You've told us quite a bit. But one last thing for fans that might still have hangups about coming out to see you, what is your pitch to fans for coming out and seeing a show where you're going to be wrestling?
Do people have reservations about seeing me wrestle?
I hope not, but
Okay, okay,
this,
I
this,
didn't
this
know
is
that.
your opportunity to let fans know, hey, this is why you should come see me.
Okay, well, if you don't mind, I don't want fans just to see me. I want fans to see me and a bunch of guys telling really awesome stories and continuing heated rivalries at my show, Fourth Wall Wrestling, on April 28th. Wrestling in the Ring at La Pica Lounge. Come see this show because basic fourth wall is good guy versus bad guy. And it's the basic thing that we all are attracted to in wrestling. It's the basic thing that why we watch movies, why you would go to a play. It's good guy, bad guy. And I make sure that I'm telling stories that people want to see. And I'm putting guys together that people want to see. Today, I don't know when you're dropping this, but today that we're recording this is Milwaukee Day, and I've got a Milwaukee style elimination madness match at that show. Okay, Silas Young, arguably the best who's ever come out of Milwaukee, I would think, right?
Absolutely.
Dysfunction, maybe he's the guy that you're. Well, what about dysfunction? That's the argument, right? Is it dysfunction or is it Silas Young? But also in that match is Bobby V, was I don't know, 15, 16 years in Milwaukee. And I'm just going to put Bobby over real quick. This guy can move his body better than most wrestlers that I've seen, television, indies, anywhere. Bobby can move. And Shooter Scott, who I think Shooter Scott's been around for maybe like 21, 22 years or something like that. And I'll put Scott over this way. I've been in the ring with him, and he made me tap out to an armbar, but the dude kicked me in the arm so freaking hard that my arm was bruised. I'm going to say for 2 weeks, dude, this arm all down and whatever. But I'm going to put over the fact that we are not just in Milwaukee, but we celebrate Milwaukee when you're at my show. You're going to feel like you're going to get a dose of Milwaukee wrestling, like, and love it. You're like, this is Milwaukee wrestling. This is fucking awesome. Holy shit, But I don't just give you Milwaukee wrestling because Kyle Pro will be there. And if you've never seen Kyle Pro wrestle, you need to see Kyle Pro wrestle because that guy's probably on his way. If he gets like a little bit, dude, I mean, his body is awesome and he's focused. That dude gets a little bit bigger, he's on his way. And with him, his buddies from Minnesota, NDS, Levi Cruz and Riley Jackson. I've been in the ring with both those guys before too. Hello, right? There's going to be a lot of bodies on this show. I don't know if that attracts anybody or not. There's going to be a lot of bodies on this show. Come see me wrestle Moondog Bernard. Moondog is a young dude from Chicago. He's very respectful, and he earned his way on my show by being respectful. But let's see if we can teach him a few more lessons, I think. Okay. Like I said it before, the MarMan is a guy who he wants to beat his opponent, but he also wants to steal a little bit of that masculinity. You are going to see a little bit of weird from me. You're going to see a little bit of fun from me. I'm going to wink a few times at the crowd, if you know what I mean by that. Okay. I'm going to pull you in and engage you because I'll just be straight up honest. You're not going to see the MarMan doing a flip off the top rope. The MarMan is going to stick his head through the middle and the top rope, point at you, be like, dude, shut your mouth, dude. Okay, like we are, and I want you to come right back at me. Okay, let's have fun, right? So that's my little pitch for Fourth Wall and MarMan too. Wrestling is fun. Play with me. A lot of people after a wrestling show, they'll come up to me and say, hey man, I just want you to know, thanks. You're one of those guys I really like to have fun with at shows. And I break character. I don't care. And I say, thanks for playing with me.
Absolutely.
That's what we're here to do, right? Yeah. Let's have some fun, guys. Go ahead. Like lose yourself. think like boo the bad guy. Think that he's a piece of shit. Boo him. Cheer the good guy. Hope that he wins. Let's just have some fucking fun, right? Sorry, I know this is a podcast.
No, this is perfect. This is perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. Will, you want to take her home?
Absolutely. So I'd like to thank MarMan for taking the time to talk to us today.
Appreciate it.